Hey, what's up everybody? This is Broku. Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about Black Clover Endgame, as in a sort of final battle and what that could look like within the series. You know, in all of these different works of fiction, there are these final battle or massive battle scenes. You have it in Avengers Endgame, when it's basically everybody versus Thanos and his army. And then you have this in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit films, and in many other films as well, where there's just massive final battle going on between multiple factions against a singular faction that's bad, or a few of the bad factions. Like I believe in the Hobbit, it's called the Battle of the Five Armies. It's like humans, elves, and dwarves versus two different armies of orcs. It's something like that. But there is a lot of different series where it has this, and I'm wondering, since, you know, Black Clover is a fantasy series, and this typically happens in fantasy series especially, what would a Black Clover Endgame look like? It's something that I've been thinking about. Now, just because it's Black Clover Endgame, it doesn't mean it has to happen at the end of the series. It could just be at the end of an overall saga, because technically, if some of the rumors are true that Black Clover is going to go on for as long as Naruto, then the Endgame would be a completely different scenario likely that I'm about to describe in this video. So one thing I do need to mention though is that safety and security are two very important things. We deal with them on a daily basis, and sometimes it's just hard to get the right solutions. There is one really good solution though, and that's going to get rid of most of the problems. So most internet users aren't even aware of the amount of surveillance, limitation, and data mining done with their personal information on a daily basis. Surfshark VPN can get rid of all these problems for you with an easy-to-use one-for-all solution. Surfshark turns you into an anonymous and hard-to-trace online user and makes the internet a safer and more enjoyable place for you. With the click of a button, you can forget about data mining and intrusive advertisement. Did you know what geo-blocking is? Basically, it's like when you have these streaming services and they release something on their platform, some will be only available in certain countries. Well, access should not be tied to nationality. Surfshark gives you all the access you need. Just connect to the service and refresh the page. You will get the access granted. I use Surfshark every day. It automatically starts up whenever I start my PC, and whenever I need it, I activate it with just one click. So use promo code Broku to get 85% off plus 3 extra months for free. Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Surf with your own set of rules. Check the link in my description, and again, use code Broku to get 85% off. Thank you very much for the sponsorship, Surfshark VPN. Now let's get into the video. So one of the things that made me think of this is just multiple different things that are happening in other series and within Black Clover itself. This made me think of when I did my last sort of theory video, and that was talking about the Tree of Qliphoth and who stopped it, who saved humanity, who saved the world. And it almost made me think that there was a battle, a massive battle, where the different races had to come together and fight off the Qliphoth, or maybe the races from the different kingdoms, and fight off the army of devils that are released into the world. This seems to be an event that caused 90% of the population to be wiped out, and a massive war would do that. And if it's an army of devils, you would need a massive army and probably multiple armies of massive size to take them out. And this leads to another theory that I thought about, and also Buzzard has talked about too, so I'll leave the link in the description to go check out his channel. But it's basically that there probably is multiple different swords that belong to Lick and now belong to Asta. There's probably going to be even more coming into fruition later in the series, and these might have been dwarven craft, because again, this might have been a unifying event for all of the races, the humans, the elves, the dwarves, and potentially the Jotun and other races that we might have not seen or heard yet. Now, I do remind you that the Jotun has been mentioned in the anime as a spell name, so there might be actually Jotuns in Black Clover as a whole. We already know for sure that there are dwarves, and then elves, of course, that's obvious. So maybe the dwarves made these swords, and a member of each race wielded them. They were magic items, and then that's how they stopped the Tree of Qliphoth and stopped the army of devils from completely wiping out 90% of the population, or all of the 100% of the population, and only 90% was wiped out, which is still a massive amount. Just imagine 90% of the people around you dying. That's just awful. So this has made me think of is something similar going to happen? And then I thought of the Battle of Five Armies from The Hobbit, where it was multiple different races of armies fighting off against the devils. I think we're going to get something maybe similar to that. I think the Tree of Qliphoth will come to fruition. I think that an army of devils will come into the world, and we will need a massive unification of different armies to fight against the army of devils. Now, we have 4 known kingdoms that are all basically involved in this conflict. You have the Spade, which is basically the bad guys, the ones that are accessing devil power, and the leaders of them are trying to bring in this massive devil army. Then you have the Diamond Kingdom, who has not been great, but it's also partially due to their circumstances of not having a lot of great resources. Then you have the Clover Kingdom, the quote-unquote protagonist kingdom, which still has a lot of issues. And then you have the Heart Kingdom, which seems to be the most innocent out of all the kingdoms. They're all at war with the Spade Kingdom, and the Spade is trying to bring in the Devil Army. So that already brings in multiple different factions. The Clover and Heart have already forged a partial alliance, and the Diamond, they're probably going to need to do that at some point. And then I think there is going to be something to do with the Spade, where there might be a civil war, a breaking apart of the Spade from the Dark Triad itself and the Devil powers itself, so that the Spade can also join the kingdom. So I'm going to talk about that. And then also, we do know that there are some elves that survived this, the Elven Reincarnation arc. Patri, Raya, Veto, and Fauna were all elves that survived, and they left. And we don't know. I think they will definitely be returning. And Tabata threw in those pictures of the, the child elves in the manga, and it was also in the anime. This basically foreshadows that there were other elves living in the Black Clover world at the time. They probably either survived the Elven Massacre, or just Lick's tribe was not the only tribe of elves that existed. So Patri and the rest of the Third Eye probably went and found this elven tribe, and maybe are the leaders of it, or now a part of it. And I think they will also probably get tied back into the series, as maybe it's Patri leading an army of elves with the other armies of the other kingdoms to fight against the devils, and that will be part of his retribution, getting basically redeeming himself for all the bad deeds he did for Zagred unknowingly. And if he can stop now an army of devils and save multiple kingdoms and save the Clover Kingdom, then that will be a huge redemption story for Patri. Also, he's going to want to be involved in this because he is a huge friend and huge connection to William. Might even be a little bit more than friends, who knows. And that is going to be really huge inspiration for him to also join this effort, because William is currently captured by the Spade Kingdom. Another thing to consider is Charmy and her connection to the dwarves. Charmy is a half-dwarf. Maybe, just maybe, we will see a little journey, a little hero's quest for Charmy to go find other dwarves and bring them into this, because we also know they are incredibly powerful when it comes to magic. They are, born with almost like elven levels of amounts of mana and magic power. And also, just based on lore, they're supposed to be good at crafting things, and I believe that's even stated in the manga. I'm not 100% sure, I'm drawing a blank for some reason. But basically, you have the other races being built up, you have multiple kingdoms, and so let's talk about the different, leaders. Now, I think Asta, and again, I think that this is still a ways away from happening. I think there's going to be more developments, maybe even some side arcs, and we're not going to probably see to the point of this battle, I would say, not for a while, probably not for at least 100 to 150 chapters. I think that you could easily have 100 to 150 chapters of basically Clover, Diamond, and Heart, and even maybe a good side of Spade, trying to come together and build shit up. Yuno needs to get stronger, Charmy needs to find the dwarves, Asa needs to get stronger and learn his devil power. So much does still need to happen that we might not see Yami and everybody else, kind of reconnected for a long time. We might get the rematch of the Light Triad versus the Dark Triad for a long time, because there really is a lot that does still need to happen before that rematch. We can't just have this rematch in 50 chapters, and I think that's going to be just too bland. When Julius and Patri got their rematch, that was like 110 chapters difference. you need to have a big gap for a good rematch, in my opinion. I don't think that you need time for both, or at least one of the characters to develop before another rematch, or else it just will be too bland. So I think that the Light Triad and the Dark Triad, they will not get the rematch for a while. I'd say probably at least 100 chapters. So I think that's when this kind of final battle, Black Clover Endgame, Black Clover Battle of the Five Armies thing is going to happen. It's not going to be for a while. I'd say at least 100 chapters. So there's going to be a lot of stuff to go on. I mean, I think Pottery's going to end the Third Eye. They need to be reintroduced to the series. And so when it comes to multiple factions, it might be Charmy, a human dwarven hybrid leading the dwarves into battle. You might have Asta at this point leading the Clover Kingdom in the battle. Not necessarily him being the actual Wizard King, just being the symbolism, the leader. He is a devil host. He is arcane. He has anti-magic. He is one who needs to take them down. And then I think you could have Mars leading the Diamond Kingdom. We know that Mars and Ladros were going to cause a rebellion within the Diamond Kingdom after the events of the Witch's Forest. He might have been part of a rebellion faction or something of that matter that is now fighting against the Spade Kingdom, and if he is not doing great. And then you could have the Witch Queen with maybe Vanessa leading the Forest of Witches into the battle. Remember, they are probably going to be attacked by the Spade. They're going to be affected by the devil, so they need to join this effort if they want to survive. Then you have Yuno, who is the prince and would eventually be the king of the Spade. He has a lot of people that remember him, that need him and want him back. This is stated by Ralph. And it is stated that Yuno is a spitting image of Seal, and that is the king of the Spade Kingdom, or the former king before the Dark Triad just killed all the royals. So if Yuno showed up, and there's people that want the return of the son of the king, they want the Prince of Spade to return, and he looks just like Seal, well, they're going to recognize that this is, the prince. This is their prince. And this might spark a rebellion within the Spade Kingdom. And that means that you might have a bunch of the civilians or military just banning themselves from the Dark Triad and the Dark Disciples. As of right now, we only have the Dark Triad, the Dark Disciples, and some captains who have devil power. And maybe, if they have devil power, they can revert to being good again. Don't know. They seem to be, I guess, partially have ties to the Disciples if they get power from them, or to the Triad. But still, they're a huge military power. Maybe if Yuno returns, he will cause a shift in that power. So it'll be Yuno leading the Spade faction. And now, this one is a bit weird, because it might not make perfect sense, but Noelle leading the Heart Kingdom faction. And it also could be the Underwater Temple 2, or one or the other. Now, they see Noelle in the Underwater Temple as a sea goddess, so that's where I'm getting that from, as her leading them. And then, also, there is some theory and speculation that Noelle does have the Water Spirit now, because Lord Pachika was kidnapped and the Water Spirit was cursed, and then Noelle got a new spell in her grimoire after that, the confrontation with Vonica. So people are saying that she got the Water Spirit, or Lord Pachika gifted it to her because, that Noelle needed it to save them. I don't really know. So I think that if Noelle does get the Water Spirit, I think she could be the leader of the Heart Kingdom faction. Now, that's just for the battle. I don't think she'd actually stay in the Heart Kingdom and then would just, be the actual Heart Queen. I think it would just be for the fact that she has the Water Spirit, and that's supposed to be the leader of the Heart Kingdom. So I think she would do that just for that battle. Maybe give her the spirit back to Lord Pachika, and then Lord Pachika returns as the queen, or she just gives the Water Spirit to the next queen to inherit it. Something like that. I wouldn't see Noelle actually being a long-term leader of the Heart. It would just be a interim leader because of the Lord Pachika capture. So then Noelle, because she has the Water Spirit, has a connection to the Heart Kingdom now, is leading the Heart Kingdom into battle. So you have a leader that's been built up, and then a faction behind her. And so, yeah, you have the Light Triad, each leading a faction. Then you have Mars, who's been built up to not really be a part of the, he has, I think he's going to be important later, but I think he's going to be leader of the Diamond Rebellion. So you have multiple factions, you have multiple leaders. So you have Patri leading the Elves. You have Vanessa with the Witch Queen leading the Forest of Witches. You have Charmy leading the Dwarves, and her having a connection to both the humans and the dwarves could possibly be the fact that she is the leader, or the fact that she might have Fenrir himself as some sort of spirit avatar or whatever exactly it is, or it's just like a personification of her magic, and it's just symbolism and what Tabata chose for it. So whether or not her wolf is actually some sort of a type of a spirit or an entity, we still need to figure out. But if that is Fenrir, then that makes her much more important than we realize right now. So that's what I overall think could happen: is Asta leading the Clover, leading the Spade, Noelle leading the Heart, Mars leading the Diamond, Vanessa and the Heart, or the Spade, the Witch Queen, leading the Witches of the Forest, and then Charmy leading the Dwarves, and then I think the Seabed Temple also involved. Maybe Noelle is leading that as well. It all depends on the. I think if the Noelle doesn't get the Water Spirit, that she's not going to lead the Heart Kingdom. That's like, I'm just saying that if she gets it, which is possible because she did get something new in her grimoire. Now, when it comes to the actual battle, this would just be a pure epic, a classic. It would become a classic fantasy battle, like just all the magic that's gathered up, all the characters that we know. I see Fonzel going in this. I see maybe some of the Diamond Generals that clapped, and if they survived, they're now on the side of the good guys. So many recurring characters. I would love to see. Ledros in this battle. I think it would just be complete epic, and it would just totally feel like the end game. It doesn't have to be the very end though. Just like how Avengers Endgame, that was just the end of basically the overarching first saga, the 3 different phases. Now we're going to phase 4. So while that was Endgame, it was Endgame for that part. The MCU is still going to go on after that. So it could be kind of the same thing. Like with how the first 215 chapters, the Elf Saga, that was one saga. This could be the endgame of the second saga, where it's the Spade and the Devils. So I think this would just be complete epicness. It would be great to see Asta leading the Clovers, or it would just be him leading the Black Bulls into battle. And the Black Bulls are the most powerful squad, so that would make him, I guess, the symbolism for being the leader of the Clover. And so yeah, it would just be great to see the Light Triad clash with the Dark Triad in this way. The Dark Triad and their army of devils, and the Light Triad and their army of non-devils, and an army of light versus an army of darkness, army of order versus an army of chaos and malice. So I think this would be great to see. Now, immediately I'm just thinking of like Asta is going to be fighting against the Dark Triad by himself. He's going to be getting clapped. Because, Asta, he was about to leave by himself to try and go save Yami and fight the Dark Triad, and then knocked the Vice Captain, stopped him from doing that, and essentially saved him. So what if something like that happens again? But then Fenrir becomes the MVP, and he pulls a Doctor Strange, and he opens up a bunch of portals, and then the army of all these people show up. Now, I think that would be a bit too much of a similarity, but I just already envisioned that in my head of something that would be so sick to see. I hope it would be a bit different, though, and not just exactly like how it happened in Endgame. Just Fenrir, spatial magic would be perfect to do that, but it almost, I think, be cool if it was all the Light Triad fighting the Dark Triad, and then Fenrir does that. And so, like, the Light Triad are all losing the Dark Triad, and Fenrir opens up a bunch of portals, a bunch of people coming in. That would be absolutely epic. But overall, that's pretty much it for the video. I think that a final battle, stopping the Tree of Qliphoth, stopping the army of devils, and ultimate unification is coming. And I think that it might not be the anything after that. It would, instead of devils, we'd focus more on gods and fate, gods of fate. That seems to be the built-up, overarching villain for the series, is the gods of fate, because they essentially make all the bad shit happen. So that could be something where now we're fighting gods. And just, talk about Norse mythology, because a lot of inspiration is taken from that. The gods, as in, Odin and Thor, and then there's the gods of fate, the Norns, they didn't really get along, because Odin didn't want to die on Ragnarok, and he couldn't do shit to the Norns, because that was his fate. The gods of fate set it so that he would die, being eaten by Fenrir on Ragnarok. So, they didn't get along. I'm sure Odin would kill the Norns if he could, but they're not fated to die at Odin's hands, so Odin cannot kill the Norns. So I could see something like the Norns being the overarching villains, Vanessa being maybe a Norn or of Norn descent, or having some sort of tying connection leading into that where she is on their side, and that's how they can help to defeat them. And it's like the gods, the other gods, maybe champion some of the characters, like Thor champions Luck, just a natural connection, you know, lightning, and Luck gets like God Mana or something, that he's way stronger. Surtur champions Magna. All of that, you know, nonsense is just all just coming out of my ass right now, but something like that. And so then you have Vanessa's fate magic, you have Asa's anti-magic, and they're trying to take down the gods of fate. I think that could be something happening where it's the gods of fate being defeated, and now free will is instilled within the Black Clover world. That'd be kind of a cool concept, in my opinion. It has been built up that, you know, there is gods of fate. That is a fact in Black Clover. It's been stated. Vanessa should have knowledge of that, and fate has just been such a huge concept in the series. It would be cool to see that concept personified into the Norns, the gods of fate. So that's my answer for the video. Don't forget, guys, code Broku in the description to get that Surfshark VPN. Huge deal, 85% off. And that being said, hope you guys all have an amazing day. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Plus,